Hello, it's 8 p.m. in Australia. Australia, I sound very English. It's 11 a.m. in the UK. It's 3 to 6 a.m. in the USA. And there's no one here, but that's okay. People will come. And we're talking today to the Noisy Brain, who is based in Singapore. And it's going to be great to talk to him. He has a really great initiative around mental health. And I'm going to see if I can invite him in now. So just bear with me. And because he hasn't done this before, so we'll see. Join. Hey, Leandra. Oh, I nearly forgot your name then. Yeah, the Noisy Brain is here. Invite him again. See if we can get him to join. So today's podcast. God, I'm a bit all over the place. I was very tired tonight when I got home, so I had to have a bit of a nap. So tonight, the Noisy Brain is about a collaboration between people who have mental health issues and collaborating with musicians to be able to put their feelings and thoughts to music. I'm just going to try him again. I don't know why he's not coming in. It might be a technical issue. Is unable to join, it says. Oh, God. So let's try him from his other account, which is... what is his other account? That's the only one. I don't know. Hello, Psych Cafe. Good to see you. There he is. Oh my God, I was starting to go into panic of why, because it came up with a little red banner saying unable to join. And I'm like, what? Why is he unable to join?
I could hear you saying that, and I'm like, I haven't said I can't join yet.
No, it just came up with you can't join. And I'm like, oh my God, because I had that problem not last year, the year before, when I first started doing lives, and we realized that the person who couldn't connect hadn't updated their Instagram app, and so that's why they couldn't get on.
Oh, really?
So I've just told all the audience about what you do and the Noisy Brain, and that it's a collaboration between musicians and people with mental health issues that want to get their ideas and thoughts, emotions down on paper as lyrics, and then you find someone to collaborate with them with some music. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, this sort of like one-liner really is that we encourage people with mental health experiences, whether that's mental health issues or actually sort of emotional health issues, and we basically chat to them and say, we encourage them to sort of like write their experiences down, whether that's in like the dog's back.
Whenever I go on a live, I think because I'm sitting up, she likes to be in
there. So yeah, we encourage people with mental and emotional health issues to write their experiences down and share them. And from those shared writings, whether they be in poems or like just observational form, musicians from all around the world collaborate with us and with the contributing writer and create songs or a piece of music from those pieces. The whole Noisy Brain actually comes from my own personal experience of my own mental health issues. And I don't know, do you want me to go into the story behind that?
Yeah, I think so. I think I didn't actually introduce you when you came on. I said Stuart was coming on from the Noisy Brain, but this is Stu. And you, how long have you been doing? Let's go a little bit around how the Noisy Brain came to pass, which is you having some mental health issues. Is that what brought the Noisy Brain together?
Yeah,
that idea?
I just to sort of go right to the beginning. Well, not right to the beginning, but
Not right to the beginning.
basically, a few years ago, I've suffered from depression on and off throughout my life. I've had sort of anxiety issues and all sorts of things going on. But a few years ago, these issues sort of raised their head in quite a drastic form, where it was probably the worst it's actually been, which was sort of the depression started, the anxiety, but then I also, on top of that, I started having, which hadn't happened before, but I had intrusive, this is probably the wrong terminology, but I call them intrusive suicidal thoughts. And you know, they are very, very, very frightening when it actually sort of hits you, and they're unavoidable. You know, I think I've written about this on the app and a few articles, but you know, a simple scenario would be that I would be with my wife and having a nice time. We'd go to the cinema, everything's fine, and then a scene in the cinema, a scene in the film would just trigger me. Like, it would only have to be something simple as a tall building or a bridge or something that would click into my head and go, where can I do this, you know, to myself? Where can I?
Can I just ask you, because you did have a really high-powered, stressful career, and I think from what I remember when we did a podcast a year or two ago, you had stepped away from that. But do you think that high-power, stressful career had something to do with how you started to become?
I think it definitely would have contributed. I can't blame it all on the career. I mean, I enjoyed a lot of the career that I had. I used to be in advertising in London and all around the world. Yes, it's a stressful job. I think it definitely has contributed to my situation. I wouldn't put it all down to it. It didn't help.
And I guess the thing is as well, with that sort of career you had, I mean, while you're in it, you don't see it as a stressful job. I know I worked with a family for almost 20 years, working as a personal carer, you know, running budgets for the house, everything like that. And when I was there, I didn't see it as stressful until I stepped away and took a different job. And then I went, my God, look at the stress I've been under, which at the time I thought it was fantastic. But when I had time to reflect and look back on it, I went, my God, I've just been, you know, I've pretty much run that whole family for 20 years. And life was so much easier. And I realized you actually get paid a little bit more money for not so much stress.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I can relate to that. I mean, I was lucky in my job that I was sort of able to travel a lot, and I worked all around the world, met and worked with some fantastically talented people. But since I've come out of advertising and basically full-time trying to create the Noisy Brain, I feel a lot better in myself. I feel a lot more focused, and I feel a lot happier. I feel that what I'm currently doing and trying to do is a lot more worthwhile than anything that I've ever done in my past. It's quite weird though, because now I can look back on my old career and go, well, the times I was happy, and this sounds a bit Miss World, but the times I was happy was when I was doing charity work, and when I was trying to come up with an idea that had the potential of helping other people. And that's when I was most happy. Like, and, you know, working on all these big brands that, you know, rot your teeth or, you know, take your money or whatever. Like, I resented working on that, like, on a day-to-day basis. Whereas now, you know, I have conversations with the likes of yourself and likes of like talented musicians and organizations all around the world, all aiming to help people, help other people, like
Yeah.
you know, which is an amazing thing to be able to be working on. We've got a long way to go with what we're doing, but you know, it's a good start and it's exciting as well.
Yeah. So go back then and tell us what happened in the beginning to really
Yeah,
make you turn to this, because you did have quite a bad time of it, didn't you?
yeah. I when the major incident and episodes were happening with my mental health, as I say, it was the intrusive thoughts of suicide, like like uh, suicidal thoughts were coming into my mind all the time, depression, anxiety. But then the stupid thing that I did was I self-medicated. I didn't actually tell anybody what was going on. Everybody knew me as sort of like the guy that was, you know, having a good drink in the pub and inviting all his friends along and, you know, having a good laugh. But
Yeah.
the reason I was probably doing that a lot of the time was to mask what actually was going on in my head, and pretend that everything was okay. And that led me into even more problems. I mean, I started falling out with friends and arguing with, you know, family and my wife, and so then, you know, the silly thing that happens in those situations is the first thing that you do is you go for another drink to get over the argument.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. And myself and my wife went for a really, I mean, the major time that I actually sort of knew that I was on, well, I knew I was on a downward spiral for probably almost a year before the incident happened. I ended up, myself and my wife had gone away for a weekend, and we was it was just like a staycation. I live in Singapore, and it was a staycation, and my wife went to work on the Monday, and I had the Monday off, and I found myself like looking at the balcony, which was sort of, I don't know, 40 floors up.
Wow.
And I went out onto the balcony, and I stayed on the balcony looking down to where I would land for an uncomfortable amount of time. And that really scared me. And I can remember coming back into the room and shutting the curtains so I couldn't see outside, and just sitting on the bed and not enjoying that moment in the slightest.
Yeah.
It was very, very raw, and I couldn't understand why it was in my head. I'd had a nice weekend, like, you know, with my wife, and there was no arguments. There was nothing that sort of like was major that would have led me to that thinking, which was the scary bit. You know, there was no actual rhyme or reason for me standing on that balcony. I wasn't sort of preparing to jump off. I was just looking where I'd land, and that scared me. But then I did the silly thing again. Or did my usual thing, and went out drinking to probably get over what I thought was get over the anxiety of what I just experienced in my head. So this carried on for another week or two, and then again I got myself into a situation one night, and got myself into an argument with a security guard late at night, and I ended up being disorientated because I was drunk, but also angry at the world. I actually wrote something which we'll go into later, which was called "Shouting at Strangers," which was all about this scenario. But I ended up in an argument with a security guard, which I ended up lashing out, and I knocked him over, and it all got very ugly from that moment onwards. I went back the next day to actually try and apologized to the security guard and the hotel where it had happened. But by then, somebody had released a video of the whole episode happening onto social media, which just blew up, and I got so many sort of death threats and abusive calls, and threats to my family, threats to my wife. It got really nasty. I can understand why it got nasty. I kind of deserved what I got, but part of what I'm doing now with the Noisy Brain is because I was lucky enough to be surrounded by family after I admitted what was happening in my head.
Yeah.
My friends and family became very, very close, but my friends and family were already very close before. I just didn't have the guts to actually tell them what my situation was. And if I had done that, I would have avoided a lot of things. I would have still ended up going to counseling and therapy and all sorts of things. The weird thing that happened to me after I admitted my situation, and obviously this was during like the ongoing police inquiry and still the social media storm. Sorry, I got distracted. So the moment that this happened, I felt such a relief that I'd actually opened up and told everybody what was in my head. I was then sort of like surrounded by all these people protecting me. But then the other weird thing that happened to me was that I felt the urge to just keep writing.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what I was writing, but I was just writing because it felt good just to get all of this fog and all of this noise out of my head and onto paper. And a few of these things I started playing around with and making bad poetry and stuff. Part of the process that I went into during this episode was that I took myself to AA, and the guys at AA were fantastic. And I started doing the steps, and I had a mentor. But I had the problem being at the AAA because the guys there, they were fantastic, really supportive, and I'd recommend anyone going that's like has a problem with drink. But my problem was that I just stopped. At the time, I just stopped drinking.
Yeah.
Immediately, and I didn't have a problem with stopping drinking. And the people I was surrounded by, they genuinely had problems, and I could see them struggling to even get to the meeting. They've been very supportive to me, but I felt a little bit like I was a bit of a fraud, like being there. And so I carried on going because I knew I had a problem with the drink, but I also, at the back of my mind, I was knowing that I was masking the depression. So I carried on doing the steps, and the mentor that I had, he was meeting me for like a session on one of the steps things, the processes, and he was late, so I was just writing in a notepad. And I always write in notepads. I still do. I'm old-fashioned. And he turned up and he saw me writing, and he was like, "What are you writing?" And I said, "Well, I don't actually know." He said, "Well, you go and get the coffees and I'll have a look at your writing." And I took a few steps away, and I suddenly realized that I hadn't shown anybody any of my writing. I'd written in my career previously in advertising, like scripts and like adverts and headlines and basic copy and things like that. But I hadn't shown anybody my personal writings about myself and my situation and the things that I was experiencing. And I paused and I almost went back for my book, but I didn't. And thankfully I didn't, because when I came back, he was very animated, and he was like, "Stu, can I take a photo of these 2 pages?" And I was like, "Yeah, but why?" And because I didn't know him that well, I'd only known him for 2 or 3 months. It turns out that he liked creating music and writing songs. And he said, "I just want to make a song out of this. I really relate to these couple of pages." And then I continued with my court case for a few months, and then I ended up going to prison for a while. A short time, but it was still prison. But when I got out, myself and my wife, we decided to go away on take a break from everything that had gone on, and we went off on holiday. And while we were on holiday, I get a text message from this guy saying, "I've finished your song." And then the next text came through, and it was him singing my words. And that immediate immediate reaction to that was like very, very emotional. I mean, hearing your words played back to you,
yeah,
in song and in music is, well, I mean, I still can't really describe it, but it is a very emotive feeling that I immediately wanted to just try and work out how to share that feeling with other people, because I know that I'm not the only one writing stuff down badly.
Yeah.
But I wanted to share that process, and that's really the moment that I started thinking about how I could do that. And that's where the Noisy Brain has been born, from that sort of collision of meeting of minds, like somebody with the talent of music and somebody who had a very mixed up mind at that time. I still have a mixed up mind, to be honest, but like,
don't we all?
Yes. But if I hadn't have left my pad there, my notepad with him, that I wouldn't have been able to sort of like progress the Noisy Brain. It was that whole process.
Can I ask you, when you had this incident at the nightclub, do you think that if that hadn't have happened, you might not have sought the help that you needed? Like, because I mean, I know it's a bad incident. Well, it's not no one died or anything, just to make that clear. But do you think that incident really was the crux to make you go, "Look, I really need to sort this out and get some help"?
Yeah, it wasn't a nightclub. It was a hotel, but it was like,
right.
But it was, yeah, I know what you mean. Unfortunately, I don't think I would have gone. I would have probably carried on, oblivious to, not oblivious, but still trying to mask my actual feelings. This sounds a little bit weird to sort of the way I describe it, but I do feel that it was, the best bad thing that could have happened. Like, I mean, I hurt a lot of people around me. I thankfully, as you say, nobody died or was seriously injured or anything like that. I still was in the wrong.
Do you think it gave you the confidence as well to actually speak to your family about how you were feeling? Because you were saying before how you sort of kept all that inside. And when this happened, obviously you need to tell them the reasons why you think it happened. And do you think that made it easier to open this topic up to them?
I think I didn't really have a choice. Like, I think, I got myself into such a hole that I had to admit what was going on. Like, there's people that would probably look at it as potentially an excuse and things, but I know that I shouldn't have done what I did, but I also know that if I had have got help before, that incident wouldn't have happened. If I'd have, you know, now I encourage people, you know, people in the noisy brain community, I always encourage them to talk, you know,
Yeah.
to talk to somebody that they can trust, to somebody they can confide in, and somebody, you know, that can listen, to be honest. That's pretty much all you want. Is you don't probably need to be told exactly what you should do. You just need to get it out. And you know, the weight that got off my shoulders as soon as I was able to sort of like say to somebody what I was experiencing was amazing. And you know, I've been lucky enough to sort of in the last few days actually sort of I helped and encouraged a guy to go to a men's talking club in the UK, and I won't name names or anything, but he was very reluctant. In his own words, he said he was very shy. He didn't know what people would think of him going to this club, and
Yeah.
he managed to go at the weekend, and he sent me a beautiful message or messages just saying how much the community had helped him to overcome his anxiety of actually going to one of these meetings.
Yeah.
And I shared some of these with the people that run the meetings, and they, you know, they hear it all the time, but I don't hear it as much because, you know, I haven't experienced that before. But that's a beautiful thing. It's like making sure that people can actually open up and speak to people is so important. Yeah,
and can I just jump in here, Stu? What I really like about you is that, you know, you've done this stuff. You had you know, you went to prison for a little bit. You sorted everything out, and you're brutally honest when you talk, and you tell everybody your full story, which is what we need more people to do. Because when you share a story like that, it could be someone who is thinking about going to therapy, going down the same track as you, maybe drugs or alcohol, and they hear your story and they go, hold on a minute, that sounds a lot like what I'm doing at the moment. You know, because we can hear stories of people like, oh, I went and got therapy and I feel so much better. But when you actually hear where you were, what you went through, and how you changed that, you know, that gives people, especially men, validation that what they're going through is right, and that they can get help, and that it's okay to put your hand out and say, can you give me some help, because I can't cope with this.
Yeah, it's amazing that when people can have the courage to reach out. And I didn't have that courage until I got myself into that incident. It was something that I was completely lacking, which is kind of upsetting to actually think that I wasn't able to, you know, have the balls to actually tell somebody what I was feeling.
But you're not the only one. I mean, look, I've sat on the
No.
other side talking to people about mental health issues. And, you know, I always say that the hardest thing to do in therapy is to actually walk into a room with someone you've never met and sit down and start telling them about your problems or your issues. And 99% of us, we don't tell a lot of people our issues because we go, oh no, I'll try and work through that. Oh, I don't know what's going on there. Why am I in this way? But to sit down and actually open up, it is a very hard thing to do. And to be honest, because I say to people with psychology and counseling, you can go in and tell them whatever you like, but unless you're honest about what's happening, you're never going to get anywhere. You're going to spend years and years in therapy, or you're going to jump from one therapist to the next going, oh, they didn't help me. Oh, I don't know why I'm going. Because I guess we all want to keep some things about ourselves secret and private. And you can still keep a few things secret and private, but the things that you need to help you start moving forward, you have to open up and talk to. And therapists, you know, some are good, some are bad. So, you know, you just want to make sure when you go in and you sit down and you start talking, you're actually feeling like you're being listened to. And it sounds like you were.
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky with the counselling guide that I got to see was recommended to me by two different friends, which I didn't know were going to counselling. When the incident happened to me, so many people reached out, and suddenly you realize you just definitely you realize that you're not as alone and vulnerable as you thought you were. There's so many other people that have been experiencing it, but everybody deals with it in different ways. Or, you know, and when these guys gave me the counsellor, you know, I still don't know if either of them know that all of us have been going to the same counsellor.
Right.
Another reason why, sorry, I'm changing subject again. Another reason why
Before you change that subject, can I just say, it's funny how when you needed to go to a counsellor, you weren't aware that your friends were going to having counselling also. And it just shows how much we live in a bit of fear of saying to someone we're going to a counsellor in case there's the judgment of, oh, what's wrong with you? You know, we should be quite open and go, oh, look, I had a few issues. I went to a counsellor. Did you really? Did it work? Yes. Oh, could I have their number? I'd like to go and talk through some issues. You know, but I think we're still in that phase of, oh, I don't know if I should tell anyone. How will they react?
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I mean, I was lucky early on in my career in London, probably about 25 years ago. I was sort of I hit a bad depression. Like I was having a breakdown while I was at work, and somebody found me and put me onto sort of HR, and I was lucky that the agency was big enough at that time that they paid for counselling 25 years ago. For me.
Because 25 years ago, it would have been more expensive, wouldn't it?
More expensive and rare. Like, I don't think many companies would have actually
even acknowledged mental health.
Yeah, they definitely probably wouldn't have paid for, you know, 3 or 4 months of my sessions. You know, and that was amazing to think that 25 years ago that actually was happening, because I don't think it was. I think I got very lucky then, you know, also because I think that was very rare that anybody was paying for people's sessions like back then. But the expense and everything is another reason that, you know, I set up the Noisy Brain, was to eventually be able to help subsidize people's counseling and therapy sessions, because they are so expensive. I mean, I couldn't afford them now. Like, you know, I haven't been working for a couple of years now, and I've just been working on the Noisy Brain. So if I did have problems now, well, myself and my wife would get through, but I wouldn't be able to pay for them off my own back. And, you know, this is what ultimately I want to be able to do with the Noisy Brain, is help subsidize people's therapy sessions and counseling sessions. And it all goes back to really sort of like having that network of family and friends around me when the recent incident happened. Whereas I'm completely aware that I got lucky with my friends and family, because so many people haven't got that bubble around them. And, you know, that's another reason why I am able to talk about things a lot more honestly and openly, because I know my friends, you know, they're supportive, and they're not laughing behind my back, or, you know, they're all of my true friends support what I'm doing. So I'm very lucky in that respect.
And look, what I said to you when we did the podcast was, what I like about the Noisy Brain is there are a lot of people out there, I would imagine, who actually don't want to do counselling, don't want to go and see a psychologist. And if they find out about something that you're doing, you know, and they are writing their thoughts all down, it's a way of them actually being to integrate their thoughts with someone who's creating some music, listen back to it, and also be part of it, because you're app, there's lots of stuff on there, isn't there, that you can read, stories you can read, other people's songs, and that
Yeah.
then opens it up to them to be able to see that mental health isn't all clinical. There are lots of other options out there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of respect for all the other organisations, but what I wanted to do with the Noisy Brain was make a serious subject a little bit more fun, and not disregarding the seriousness of people's conditions, but if we make it fun, approachable, open, that people are contributing their stories, we can then raise a lot more awareness to each of those mental health conditions with a story attached. And this is the sort of like the idea of the Noisy Brain, is we invite people to, or encourage people to write about their mental health issues. We then can tell that mental health story. We can then tell the collaborative story between a musician and the contributing writer, and then where that music goes, like, and how that music turns out. And who knows where a piece of music will go. Like we've got 40 or 50 songs being made around the world at the moment. There's probably about 15 to 20 almost finished.
Have you had any in the charts?
No. But the thing is that, obviously that's a dream. I thought
you had like an Icelandic person, I thought you had an Icelandic person or someone though who did really well with their song.
No,
Am I wrong?
We've had people from all around the world, like musicians from Romania, Ukraine, America, like there's all the way around the world, Singapore as well. And so there's a lot of people working on songs. The dream, obviously, would be to get something that was a hit, but in reality, it's all about creating the opportunity to tell the stories. And if we can create a song, we'll have the piece of writing which opens up a conversation. People, as you said, can read all these writings on the app. They can correspond with the original writer, and then the musicians can adopt the writings. I call them adopt the writing because they're within their remit to actually sort of change, and they've got their own creative way of creating their own songs. So I don't really step on anybody on the musicians' toes in that. I bring the musicians and the contributing writers together, and then it's pretty much their project. And then
you find out at the end what happened.
Yeah, what I do is I do like a chat like now and introduce them, and so that gives the opportunity to talk about the mental health story. More often than not, the musician has also got or experienced mental health or emotional health issues, so we talk about that as well. And then they talk about, the musician might talk about how he was inspired by that piece of writing, and then I'll pretty much leave them to collaborate. And occasionally they get me in to sort of say, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? But I'm no expert. I'm no expert in the music side. I can give my opinion, but that's about it. But I like to leave it to the musicians, to be honest. I don't step on any of their toes when they're creating. And it's some musicians complete their songs within 2 or 3 weeks, and others I talked to about 1.5 years ago, they're still going.
Wow.
So I expected big things when it happened.
And on Instagram, you're actually the Noisy Brainer, aren't you?
On Instagram, yeah, somebody took the Noisy Brain. So we're the Noisy Brainer on Instagram, but the noisybrain.com is our current website, and Twitter is the Noisy Brain also. And then the app is the Noisy Brain app, and it's available on Google Play and the App Store, etc. So yeah, I mean, happy for everybody to sort of download. It's currently free while we get all the sort of content put together. Like I can't really charge people for content they're not getting, but there's lots of things planned, like hopefully like a documentary series, some collaborations with various organizations. I've just been asked to do an article for Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation as well. So
wow.
I think it's actually the Born This Way Foundation's channel Kindness is like their magazine side of like the Born This Way Foundation. So I've just written the article there, and they've approved the article, but they want to run 2 articles instead of 1, which is fantastic. So who knows where those will go? But
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it could be good. I mean, that was a big thing like a few days ago that I found out, so that's cool.
And I mean, look, I mean, even if that someone like that, and to be put together with their stuff, I mean, it just gets you out there more, doesn't it? For people to realize who you are, that you're around, what you're doing. It brings in, I guess, more musicians, more people that want to talk about things.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Redette has just said, don't forget a book. Redette, is that writing a book? IG playing up now. Yeah, when you know. Instagram's. It is great, actually. I'm not going to say it's bad because I might cut me off.
You'll get cut off.
They're fantastic. I love Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about getting that, opening up the conversation with as many people as possible. And I think that, I mean, the community is growing all the time, which is a great thing. We're getting more and more people getting involved. And, hopefully with this article coming out as well, who knows, like, we could get a lot more people on into the community as well. And everybody's got a story to tell, but it goes back to having, I suppose, the bravery to share is a big thing. And some people,
I mean, with mental health stuff, I mean, it's hard enough to go and talk to a therapist about what's going on, and with this, you're actually putting your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings all down on paper for then someone to put into a song. And then, if that song gets released, lots of people are going to hear what your life is about. So it is very brave.
We do to that point, and I completely understand the bravery of people. I mean, every time I write something, half the time I'm not going to print that one. But to that point, we do allow people to submit things anonymously. Obviously, if you sign up to the app, I'll have your email address, but you can create your own writing pseudonym, or stage name, or music name, whatever you want to call it yourself. So you can come in disguise, like, and many people do. You'll see the bad writings that I've done on the app. I'm always Stu at the Noisy Brain, so you'll see the rubbish that I write, and there is a lot of rubbish. And a lot of the things I don't even understand why I wrote them in the first place, but that's the way our minds work. But there was a rhyme and reason at some point, and I think, as what we encouraged people to do is write a little backstory, like a few sentences about how you were feeling and what inspired the writing, and then your writing. So like that also helps the musicians because they get a backstory about what was actually going on. They can potentially ask you some more questions. And again, it's up to the individuals how they want to work, because some of the contributing writers would like to just send me the things, send me their writings, and that's the last they really want to. They don't want to collaborate. They just want if it becomes a song, and then I can get in contact with them, and potential royalties if it became famous would obviously all go to them, like split between the musicians and the writers. But other writers and other sort of musicians, they like to collaborate, and I think that's, for me, that's the beauty of the idea, is the introduction of new friends that find out about each other, find out about a new mental health issue. I mean, I'm learning all the time about people's mental health issues, and like I still am no expert in any of these issues, but people sort of, I think when I talked to you before, you told me about what you've suffered from, and I was like, I didn't understand that, so I had to look it all up.
And fibromyalgia.
I still can't say it.
Look, look, you had that instant where you were finally able to open up and tell people about your issues and start the Noisy Brain. As I've said before, with the fibromyalgia, I got sick. I was working ridiculous hours each week. I got fibromyalgia. I started studying, working part-time, and it changed my life around. So, there's a lot of things that go bad in life, but for me, I was able to turn it to a positive. And I know there's thousands of people out there with fibromyalgia who will just go, that's not it, it's painful. And it is painful. Today, I've actually got a lot of pain. And that's why you might see me sitting back, because I'm trying to make sure my back doesn't hurt. But you can still do things. For me, it's not the end. And, fibromyalgia, remember that word.
I will remember the word. I just won't be able to spell it.
No, it's a long one. So I just say I've got fibro.
But it's like as I said, it's like like you explaining. You have good days and bad days, and I mean, I'm having a good day, and now, but our minds work in a weird way, and I've often just woken up tomorrow after having a great day and gone, everything's going to be shit today, and there's no rhyme or reason for it, but that is the way we're wired. And thankfully now I've been able to sort of accommodate the way my brain works a little bit better. And if I'm having a bad day, I can, rather than beat myself up and rather than go to the pub and drink, which is what I used to do, I can sort of go, okay, well, it's not going to be a great day, but I'll try and get whatever I can done, and that might be, I think I said to you before on the podcast, but that might be going and doing some gardening or just going for a walk, go for a walk in nature. I mean, I love going for long walks. It just clears my mind, so, as long as you can recognize that, and you're able to sort of take care of yourself, like it's important. And I know it's a very big cliche, but it's you've got to look after yourself. And if you understand that you're not going to have a good day, if you can just sort of like spend some time for yourself rather than like just keep plowing through, because you just burn out. And get
it
yourself
is still
into
hard
trouble.
though, isn't it? Because I know,
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday, my back was so bad, the chronic fatigue was so bad, fibro everywhere was so bad. And I'm laying on the couch thinking, oh my God, is this now what's going to be my whole life? And it took me a good few hours before I went, actually, no, this is just a bad day. Tomorrow's going to be better. And I know people think, because of all the positive updates I do on here, that my life is just tickety-boo, but it's not. And I've told people that. I've said a lot in these lives is that, when I put an update out, it could be one I wrote a week ago. So even though I'm feeling crap, I don't want to put that out and go, oh, listen to me, I feel so ill today and I feel so bad. I
Yep.
just want to continue with what I've got. And then in a week's time, you might get one going, you know, life's not that great and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then people go, oh, why was that today? And I go, well, actually, last week I was feeling pretty crap. So that's why I wrote that one. And now it's come out this week. But I still share
Yeah,
my
yeah.
feelings. And, you know, I'm happy to talk to anyone who wants to talk about fibro or illness or, you know, because the way I think these sort of things, lives, your sort of stuff is how we spread the word, a bit of humor. We can still talk about the real tough parts of mental health issues, but we can also let people know that there is comedy. Look, it's comedy and tragedy, isn't it? Life, it just is. So many good parts, so many bad parts.
Yeah, I mean, the whole basis of the Noisy Brain is to make something good out of, you know, bad experiences. Whether that is a good song, potentially a bad song, but it's still a song. But it's like, but it when we're making it better is when we are talking about it, and so we're always progressing the conversation of all of these issues and all of these problems. But you know, there's a long way to go, and there's lots to do.
I mean, look, if you look at Morrissey and Marv from the Smiths, they made a career out of songs about depressing lives, and
Yep.
they, with the jangly pop and the depressing lyrics, we had songs that we were singing along to, and it would take us a couple of weeks, and then we go, actually, that song isn't as happy as I thought it was, you
Yeah.
know. And as Radette
Yeah.
is just saying, you know, sometimes the bad days are your most creative.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It is great to actually sort of sit down and as an outlet just to write about what you're experiencing, even if you don't submit that writing to the Noisy Brain for a potential song or anything, but the actual process, you know, it's obviously a lot like journaling and things like that, but the actual process of like getting things out of you is very rewarding. Like I definitely felt a lot better when I started doing it. And obviously there's a lot of therapy groups that actually practice this as well. So,
and I think also, you know, if you look at social media, there's a lot of people out there touting for business around positive psychology, and you'll feel happy all the time, and you're or 90% happier, and you know, and in reality, no one can actually help you do that. No one's ever going to be 90% of the time happy. It's definitely a seesaw of 50-50, and when we have those bad days, it makes those good days really good, and then we look back and we analyze what happened on those bad days, and then sometimes we look at the good days and go, well, why was I so happy that day? But no one on the planet is going to be 90% happy every day, and you can, you know, go and see someone who pay $50,000 to see, who says they'll make you happy. They'll never make you happy, because it's all internal. It's how we think, process things, and how we move through life.
Yeah, I mean
ups and downs.
that was the scary thing that was happening to me, is like when the episode happened, like with the recent one a few years ago, it used to come out of nowhere. Like, as I said, it's like, and there was no rhyme or reason. It wasn't somebody had pissed me off, or somebody had like argued with me, or somebody had turned down one of my ideas or anything like that. It was just, I would be, as I said, could be sitting in a cinema and it would suddenly overtake me. It was no, yeah, you can't predict what your mind does, and that's the scary part. You know, it becomes like this really weird weapon that's used against you, which is not not pleasant to experience. But thankfully, I'm out of that at the moment. But I'm always very realistic.
And that's good. And that's the way we should be, because we never know what's going to happen from one day to the next. And we can prepare ourselves, and then the next day something happens and we go, oh, I didn't prepare for that. I didn't think that was going to happen. So, yeah. Well, look, I hope people go and find you on the Noisy Brain Brain or the Noisy Brainer on Instagram. This will be up as a live for the next, for however long they let them stay up. It'll also go on YouTube tomorrow, so there'll be other people there finding you. And let's hope you get more people. I mean, you've obviously, since the time I spoke to you for the podcast, you've gone in leaps and bounds. You've got a lot further with what you wanted to do, and that's great to hear.
Yeah, it's as I keep repeating, there's a lot more to do, and a lot more to organise. But yeah, anybody want to join or has any ideas? I'm open to any thoughts of making things better, making different ways to approach the app. The app is just one part of the jigsaw that we're doing. There's plenty of things planned, and I'm happy to sort of share any further thinking if anybody wants to sort of suggest other ways of doing things. The way I'm doing it is not perfect at all. So we're open to
I'm
change.
the same, Yeah, with the podcast, there's always things I can change, always things I write down that I should update, and I get them done 6 months later. And people say to me, get a couple of students to help you. I wish I could find those students who just wanted to do a couple of hours a week free on building websites and stuff like that, because there's just so much to do when you're a one-man band.
Yeah, it's frustrating as a one-man band as well. But things are happening. There's people getting on board and doing things behind the scenes as well. But and also if anybody wants to write any articles, that's another thing. It's like we got a lot of people contributing articles about different mental or emotional health issues that they experience, and then again, it teaches everybody. So it doesn't have to just be poetry and potential songs. We're all about sort of educating each other.
Beautiful. Well, Stuart, thank you for joining me tonight live from Singapore. I haven't spoken to anyone live from Singapore before. It's great. Is it warm there today?
It's warm here every day.
I remember when I went there for a holiday when I was about 30, I couldn't believe how hot it was. Like, you'd walk from one shopping centre on this side of the street, you'd cross the street, be dripping in sweat, and then go into the next one, and it'd be freezing cold in there, and you'd be putting your jumper back on.
Yeah, I've been here over 17 years on and off now, and I still haven't got used to the heat.
Whereabouts in Singapore are you? I mean, look, you could tell me, I wouldn't even know around Singapore anyway.
It's on the east coast of Singapore, but it's Singapore's so small, you can literally drive probably from one end to the other in 20-25 minutes. So it's.
I mean, look, when I was there, I absolutely loved it. I was there for 4 or 5 days. I went night clubbing. I went to loads of restaurants, saw loads of, I think I went to Singapore Zoo. It was just a magical place. I thought it was beautiful, really nice.
It's a fantastic place. It's been good for me. My wife's Singaporean, so I have to say that. But no, it's been fantastic. I've lived here on and off for 17 years, as I said. But yeah, I wouldn't move back to the UK at all.
Look, I've been here since I was 11 and I'm 51, so that's 40 years in Australia. And I love going back for a holiday, but once I'm there, after about 4, 5, 6 weeks, I need to get back to Australia. Australia's home now, and yeah, I love it here.
Cool. Yeah.
It has been.
Now you've got to try and wrap this up as cleanly as you did last time on the podcast.
Oh yeah, how did I do that? It was something about life changes you, wasn't it? I can't remember.
How it was.
I thought you did it. I thought you did it.
Last time it was seamless from you, and you was like, "How did I do that?" I was like, "I thought you did it all the time."
No. I think I've done that twice or maybe 3 times, where I don't even know what to say now because now I'm trying to think of something and I can't. But I mean, like you said, like what's happened to you, life does change you, and you've gone from being an advertising exec. You've had your issues where you went to prison. You're now doing the Noisy Brain. So you can see from those 3 different things in your life that life changes you. And that's what the podcast is all about, showing the changes in people's lives and how great we all are and how we manage to get through those changes in life. And that's why life changes you.
You wasn't as seamless.
No, it wasn't, was it? It was very, very stuttered.
But well done for trying.
What it did last time, but last time it just flowed out, didn't it? And it was like, wow, I surprised myself.
Well, you can edit that. You can
But
edit the ending.
In contact.
You can edit the ending from the
like
podcast onto this.
You can always go back, Redette, you're listening. If you want to go and listen to the podcast at Life Changes You on Spotify, Apple, Google, you'll find The Noisy Brain is the title. And Stu and I spoke, I think it was was it last year or the year before?
I've got a feeling it's about a similar time last year. Around about, I think it was about May, June last year. I'm guessing, but I think it was around about then.
Well, look, I mean, it's good. I'm so glad I joined Instagram and got to meet you, the other people I've met, because, yeah, as I've said before, mental health comes in all different ways that can connect with people. And I think what you're doing is a great way to connect to even younger people who might not want to go to a psychologist. They can write their stuff down, but even just mingling with other people who have got some mental health things that they want to talk about. It's a great sort of area to join in, see what's going on. And, like you said about the guy you spoke to the other day and you put him in contact with that men's group, that's another good thing, because now you're almost like information comes in and you can pass it out because you're getting all these different connections. That's what we all need. When people ask me, I'm having problems with such and such, I go, actually, I know these people. I know they're in America, but they can really help you with what you're talking about. Yeah. And if we all share this information, we make life a lot easier for everybody.
Yeah, it's the way. It's definitely the way forward. It's like, we need to be doing it more.
Well, look, someone said to me the other day, success is measured, and you'll see it as an update today on here. They said, but success is measured by how much money you make. And I go, wow, I actually feel quite sad for you, because yes, I make money and I work. I don't make any money out of this stuff. And it's not a big deal, because I said, the podcast has been successful. It's listened to thousands of people a week. I don't make money off it. I don't care, because I talk to interesting people and their stories help other people. So, I don't think money is the be all and end all. It's about spreading information, introducing new guests to people who had never heard of these people, like people who have popped in and out today and who will listen to it later will go, who the hell is Stu? And then they'll listen and they'll go, actually, that's a really good idea. So we've just got to keep spreading things around, and eventually everyone will catch up.
Let's hope.
All right, Stu, I'm going to say goodnight to you.
Fantastic.
Thank you for coming on Life Changes You podcast. And
great to talk to you again.
And
hopefully whoever's listening might just sort of like download the app. And
they will. Noisy Brain on Instagram, Noisy Brain everywhere else, Apple and Google.
Yeah.
And you can also, if you download the app, you can send a message to Stu and he will get back to you.
I will.
Yeah. Okay. Take it easy. So nice to see you again, mate.
Great to talk to you.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.